So today we are going to be talking about another important topic related with archaeology and history of Lima. And for today's talk, I have Marek with me. Oh, he's not just a great tour guide, he's also an archaeologist, and this is, well, the passion of his life. Actually, the second passion, because the first one is me, right? You.
Thank you for inviting me.
I don't see him very often, so Marek is my husband. We work together, and it's always a pleasure to have these conversations with him. So today we're going to be talking about two archaeological sites of Lima that are located within the city of Lima. This is the first part of all the talks we're going to have in the future about other archaeological sites located in different parts of Lima. This is sort of like the hiding or hidden destinations of Lima. And in this series, of course, we are dedicating a part to the archaeology. So, well, in today's talk, we're going to be discussing about two archaeological sites. One of them is
Huacahuayamarca.
And I'm going to be talking about Huaca Puquiana. They are located in different districts of Lima. One is in San Isidro district, and the other one is in Miraflores. So at the end of this talk, you will have also time for your questions, and we are going to be delighted to answer all of them. Okay, so let's start.
Now here you have the map of Peru. The archaeology in Peru is a very wide topic. So today we will focus in the province or in the city of Lima. Peru is divided politically in 24 departments. In the red one, you see, is the department of Lima. And if you focus a little more, you will see a pink spot, yeah, close to the ocean. This is the province of Lima. So the province of Lima is where the city is located. It's the urban area when more than 10 million people lives. And the province of Lima is divided in districts. So those are the different districts we visit during our tours. And the places of Huayamarca and Puquiana are located in San Isidro and Miraflores, close to the sea in the south part of the city. To focus in the province of Lima, so we will talk about three valleys. If we look for the oldest city or archaeological remain in Peru, we go to Caral, that is in the department of Lima, but out of the province of Lima. The province of Lima had three valleys, because, as you know, the coast of Peru is a desert, but the desert is crossed by valleys. In total, in Peru, we have 51 valleys in a length of 2,600 kilometers. So it's on average, each 50 kilometers, we have a valley. But here in the province of Lima, in the distance of 50 kilometers, we have three valleys. So it's more concentrated, the amount of water. The Chillón River in the north, Rimac River in the middle, and Lurín River in the south. Those red spots you see are different archaeological sites from those valleys. I want to point you here, the Huayamarca and Puquiana. You have the pen? Okay. So here is Huayamarca, and here is Puquiana, very close to the ocean. Huayamarca and Puquiana. The distance between them is 1 kilometer or 1.5 kilometers. They are close. And all the settlements of this province are in the valley of Chillón, in the valley of the north. Let's pass the next one. Okay. Here we have a chronology of Lima. Around year 0, that is in the middle, starts the culture Lima. Actually, it starts around 200 years BC, the Lima culture, until 500 years after Christ is Lima culture. The period, in this period, developed the archaeological site of Huayamarca and Puquiana. Later in Lima also, the Wari Empire reached Lima until the year 1000. Then we have the Ichma period, and finally the Incas reached Lima around 140-50. The next one, please. The oldest archaeological site in the province is named El Paraíso. It's located in the Chillón Valley in the outskirts of the city in the north, and is dated 2,200 years before Christ. So in the province of Lima, there are archaeological sites that are older than 4,000 years old. This is a view from the front, and this is a very intricate place. Look, this is an aerial photograph, no? With a lot of different spaces, rooms. There were divisions of functions, and spaces in those very early days. The oldest one in the Rimac Valley, so in the middle of the city, is Garagay. No? Garagay is located between downtown Lima and Callao Port, no? In the north side of the river Rimac, and is dating on 1,500 years BC. No? So 3,500 years old. Is in very bad situation at this time because the urbanization of the city even had an antenna in the top, you know, for cell phones. Now it's in restoration. The archaeologists are working there. There is no more the antenna, of course, and they found very interesting pieces, like, for example, these very nice sculptures.
Frescoes,
frescoes in different colors. Those are the original colors. No, they were covered by dirt, but we were very lucky. We found the natural colors, and it should supposed to be open this year, but because of the pandemic, we need to wait. No, but it will be a very, very interesting touristic point for visitors in the city. Now, around the second and the first millennial BC, those settlements were close to the rivers, but around 300 years BC, those society, because the population starts to increase in those places, need to produce more food and increase crops, increase the production in order to feed them. So they start to build channels that link those rivers. Very important that those rivers are temporary, as the river Rimac. They only flow when it's raining in the Andes. Before December and March, they are full of water. After that, they had water underneath, no, the phreatic level. So the societies start to open channels, no, from this phreatic level in order to have water all year round, and also they can settle outskirts or out of the main valley. So in that way, the population starts to increase, and more people get to settle in this region. It was around 300 years BC, and they start to construct their temples. No, this is Guayamarca, is out of the main valleys. No, there's a channels that goes from Rimac Valley to the south, and this is the site of Guayamarca with a big proportion of imagination and reconstruction in this part. It's in the middle of San Isidro, the richest district of Lima. Let me show you some images in order to understand. This is a photograph from 1944, an aerial photograph. It's completely different thing than is nowadays. It's like a cake, but someone bites the cake. Huh? What happened? In 1920, there were established a fabric of bricks in this zone. So that fabric take land, that factory take land or take soil from the archaeological site and destroy all this part. It's very important to notice the damage that Peru made to their archaeological site during the Republican time. It's very, very important. Everyone followed the Spaniards about the destructions of the pre-Hispanic sites in the Andes. In the case of Lima, there were no the Spaniards who destroyed the archaeological site. There were the Peruvians. After we get the independence, we made a lot more destruction. In the last 100 years, when Lima starts to grow, we destroy more archaeological sites than the Spaniards did in 300 years. No? The Spaniards preserved those archaeological sites that were outskirts of the gated city of Lima, because that was out of the city, because from these points, they use it as a viewpoint to the ocean. So from those pyramids, they can saw the ocean, and so if an enemy come to the port, for example, so they keep those constructions. But in the 20th century, when the city reached those places, so they start to destroy the places, use them as a quarry or to make bricks. And this is how it looks today, no? Completely different. No? This is an actual picture. Also, the size of the place is smaller, even in 1/3. I have the next picture is a comparison. This is in 1950 and in 2000. In 1950, it has 120-meter long and 75-meter wide. Now it's 80-meter long and 65-meter wide. So the place lost as 1/4 of the original size. And still is very big, as you see. It's a very big landmark in Lima. Now, but that pyramid contained inside 3 pyramids because it was built in 3 different stages. The beginnings of the construction was around 200 years BC and the finish 200 years after Christ. So it contains 3 different pyramids inside. And the reconstruction was inspired in the pyramids of Pachacamac, because in the first picture you see that there's no ramp. Here we have a ramp. It's no ramp. The ramp is an invention because the archaeologists or the restorers didn't know what was there. So they create a ramp inspired in the ramps of the pyramids of Pachacamac. But the pyramids of Pachacamac are 1,000 years newer than that construction. So it was not the case. That entrance that this place has today was not the original ones. Here we can see some paths in the side of the place. Very interesting history that all this place of San Isidro get urbanized. So one of the richest men of San Isidro want to buy this place in order to build his house on the top of the pyramid. No, finally he cannot do it. No.
Well, we tend to think that if we have money, we can do anything we want, right? And these people were of that school, actually.
So this is the building that inspired the reconstruction of Huayamarca Temple. Also, Huayamarca Temple later, during the Wari period, between 600 and 1,000 years BC, or after Christ, excuse me, were used as a cemetery. It's a cemetery for important people of
cemetery
or graveyard for people of Wari society. There is a reconstruction from the top of the pyramid. The pyramid has 20 meters high. So 20-meter height. In those days, they were not building around. So from this point, you can very easily see directly the ocean.
By the way, something very interesting is today's tour. We started it from there. We had the permit from the Museum of Huaca Huayamarca to start live streaming from the point of the pyramid. So this is one of the best things that had ever happened to us since we have become, like virtual tour guides, because it has not been easy to persuade museums to allow us to live stream from within the museum. So this is a really good thing. And I hope this will encourage people to also join our tours focused in archaeology in Lima. So in the future.
In one part of the pyramid, in the east part of the pyramid, you can see the different layers of constructions. You can see part of the first and of the second pyramid, because the one you see is the third, no? The level when you make all the pictures and the viewpoints and from the third pyramid. So here you can see the remains of the first and of the second. And here you see a reconstruction in the west side of the pyramid. No, this is rebuilt. This is a reconstruction. And here, once again, the first picture. It's interesting because you see the different stages. On the left-hand side, thank you. In the left, restoration. In the right, reconstruction. In the middle, imagination. Yeah. Of course, it's a very interesting museum inside, next to the archaeological site, where interesting objects are exposed. Mummies, no? Between them, mummies from the Wari period. This is one very interesting mummy with very long hair. This is more than 2-meter long hair. No, it's a lady that lives during the Wari period, and she was a weaver, because we found all the tools she used for weaving. And here is the illumination, the city hall of San Isidro, made in the nights. So this is a place that you can visit when you come to Lima. The entrance is 5 soles, include the visit to the pyramid and a local small museum. Can take you everything around 40 minutes. It's not such a big site, but it's worth to visit in the district of San Isidro.
So, well, now we will make a little recess for a question. Maybe if you have a question about this first archaeological site, or any other thing we have explained, Marek has explained in this first part, we would love to hear your questions, Michelle. So please let us know.
The Huaymarca site, what were the bricks made out of? Were they carved from stone, or were they made from like mud and grass? Or
yeah, they are made of mud and grass. There are adobe bricks. There are adobe bricks. In some parts of the third pyramid, they also found stones. So the theory says that they finish all the mud that they can get close and start to take stones from the valley, mainly from the valley of the river Rimac. Another interesting thing, I forget to mention it, to come back to the map of the sites of Lima at the beginning, is why the people settled this territory, because as you see, it's very arid, it's very tough to live here.
Yeah, Lima is the second biggest city in the world built on a desert. So many people say, why you live here, no? Many good reasons.
Many good reasons. Okay, first of all, as I told you at the beginning, each 50 kilometers average, we have valleys in the coast. But here in 50 kilometers, we have 3, okay? It's more a bigger amount of water. Those valleys are coming from the Andes. Those rivers are short. They are 100 kilometers in average, and they take minerals and soil from the Andes. They scratch the Andes and bring a lot of mineral and to the soil. So they are very fertile. Another very important reason is the ocean, because our ocean, as you know, is very rich in fishes, in fishes and seafood. So they have food all year round. And the third reason, we don't have those islands here, but you know that we have 2 big islands in front of the of Lima. There are 5 kilometers from La Punta, from this tip. So they get go there to take the guano, to take the guano to fertilize the soil of those valleys. Those are the 3 main reasons why the people settle specifically this part of Peru. Why the settlements on this part of Peru were so dense during pre-Columbian time.
Interesting.
Basically, very fertile land. The rivers were seasonal, but there is a phreatic table. Climate is very stable all year round. We have
never is cold.
Lots of food. We have actually quick accesses to the Andes. So we were very well located. And that's why also the first societies of Peru emerged in the coast. So, Caral. So that's why the mother location of the societies of Peru is the coast of Peru. People know us more because of the Incas, which are from the Andes, and well, the historians and archaeologists say that they even came from the Titicaca Lake originally. That's the original location of the Inca, of the ancestors of the Incas. But the coast of Peru is also very important, and there's there's so much more also to be investigated here. So also, I wanted to ask something to Marek. Sorry, Michelle, do you have another question, by the way?
I just had one more question about the canals that they built. Do they still exist, the canals, or have they been covered up?
Yes, the channel, they don't exist actually as they exist 2000 years ago, but those channels were reused many times until nowadays. When Lima started to grow after we get the independence, after we destroy the walls of Lima in the mid of the 19th century, the city grows in directions of the channel, toward the channel, following the channels, the pre-Hispanic channels. So those channels were the base of the modern canalization system of the city. Mm-hmm. And they direct they were the guidelines of the development of the city during the 19th century and early 20th century. Mm-hmm.
Also, I have a question about the let's say this big movement that existed around the world, not just in Peru, of archaeologists that were using their imagination, that was up to the early 60s, to reconstruct archaeological sites. I mean, nowadays, this site looks to me impressive, even though some people think that that's the way it looked like. I know it's not the way originally it looked like, but it still is impressive. It's amazing. So as an archaeologist, Marek, what do you think about, for example, this site that has been completely renovated? It looks wonderful. It even looks to me like an Aztec temple, like or something like that, with a central ramp. So what do you think about that as an archaeologist?
When I was in the university and we talk about and discuss about the archaeological sites in Lima, when someone tell about Guayamarca, so the professor says, this is not an archaeological site. This is just a reconstruction. Don't mention it. Mm-hmm. This is a kind of Disneyland, a little. For me, it's not a respectable archaeological site because it's too much intervention and too much imagination in that. Until the 16th, it was normal. It was normal. It was considered good. And in the 67 or 68, I don't remember exactly the year, the archaeologists of the world signed a convention in Venice. And in that convention, they agree that never more they will make reconstructions. They will make restorations. Mm-hmm. And that's how now we work in archaeology. But until the 60s, it was like in this case, in Guayamarca, but it's better than nothing, definitely, because if the government don't start to take care of the sites in the 50s, in the 60s, in the way they do, so they for sure will disappear, as other sites. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think also that sometimes we tend to be very, very tough, very, very rude without wanting to, but we tend to judge like the actions of our ancestors or the people that existed before us, like because, well, we now know more. We as an archaeologist nowadays, for example, we know more, and we have different technologies to know the importance of the archaeological sites. But it is also very important to not take out of the context the temple, for example, and its reconstruction. And I am very sure that if the person that conducted the reconstruction of this site and made this beautiful, let's say, mix of elements, like in this precious temple, nowadays it looks really fantastic, but he was not able to do it, I'm sure that this site will not exist nowadays, because that reconstruction created the attention, enough attention for the city hall, for the neighbors to say, oh, this looks really nice. Well, let's not destroy it. And because that was the case for the rest of archaeological sites. And also that's the part that corresponds to me a little bit later, because I'm going to tell you also a bit more about several archaeological sites that also were in really bad shape, like this one. But some of them were destroyed because nobody cared on them, nobody put their attention on them. So they are now gone. We just have pictures of them. And we have just one example of one archaeological site in the same area that was able to await until the 70s, time when reconstructions were no longer permitted, restorations were. Also, that's the case of Huaca Pugiana. So we cannot take out of the context the place, the site, and it's important also to consider its value. We don't have really much left inside, and unfortunately, there are still archaeologists working there trying to find evidences, but it's important as a reminder of the beauty of Lima, of the past and the millenary past of our city, and as a reminder of our heritage. So, well, that's the way how I see it, and that's why also we are very passionate about these places. So, if you would like, Michelle, we will continue now with the last part of this, let's say, exposition, and we are going to talk about one gone forever archaeological site located not far away from Huaca Guayamarca.
Between Guayamarca and Piana, exactly in the middle where it was located.
It was not the only one, by the way, located in that zone. There were several other, but they are completely gone. And we just wanted to take one as an example of the destruction that happened in Lima in recent times. As Marek said, sometimes we tend to make like devils, you know, the Spaniards, the conquistadors that destroyed the territory. But we modern people have destroyed more than the conquistadors during their arrival time. And that is because, well, as Marek said, no, these temples were used as viewpoints to see if pirates were coming close, because there were not high towers enough to see that. So sometimes they were used as quarries, of course, the bricks of the temples. But many of them survived until the urbanization period of Lima. And that's the period between the 1930s and the 1960s, when Lima became from being a beautiful valley still with lots of hacienda houses, turned into an urban zone. And modernity hit. So this is the Huaca El Olivar, and it used to be located very close to the olive grove of San Isidro. Also in today's tour, the tour of Pre-hispanic Lima, we were able to visit the Olivar and see the olive trees that were planted in the 16th century. And this place is no longer, because now we have a hotel, by the way, there, and we have also several beautiful houses. So this is one temple gone forever. And next picture is about Huaca Puquiana. And this second archaeological site we are going to focus in today is located in Miraflores district. Guayamarca is in San Isidro. Both districts are very, very alike, very similar in many ways. Both are very elegant districts, and both are districts that emerge around the especially 1940s, 50s, and 60s. So this archaeological site occupies a space of approximately 6 hectares. So about, it could be 5 to 6 blocks approximately. And until the 1970s, it was between the eyes of the mayors of Miraflores, and also a developer, a constructive developer, to create here a big complex, apartment complex, which there were also like projects, like where to put the buildings, everything. And well, it didn't work that way, but also lot was destroyed for that moment, because all the section around the temple used to be secondary temples related to the main one. So, well, this is what the city hall has now, but in total, the size, the full size of the whole complex was about 18 hectares. Yes, Mari?
Yeah. And when you drive close to this place or you walk around, you feel in the ground that the ground is with
Uneven, like
uneven, like little hills going up and down, because it's on the top, it's built the asphalt over the archaeological remains.
Exactly. Also, there's one thing I don't want to forget to mention. The last damage that occurred in this archaeological site was from the 80s, and is the street you see here. Can you see the street I'm pointing out? So this street is a cut made in the 80s to create a projection of Calle Independencia Street over here, because the site actually used to be up to here. You can see actually clearly. This zone is, or originally was attached to the site. So the city hall made the decision of cutting into this temple in order to create a better accesses for the neighbors, because it was like going around here, it's too much time, too much waste of time, so better just to go through the temple. So this is the reason why the temple is cut into parts.
Here is
sorry, yes, Marek?
Is the picture before the work starts.
Exactly. Well, this is the section, the temple before all the restorations. We have also, as you can see, a very irregular shape. We have also a side that looks more like a hill than an archaeological site. The standards of the construction, let's say the design of the temple, are nothing to do with the Inca style, nothing to do with the Wari style, with any other culture, because the creators of this temple and also the creators of Huaca Huayamarca belong to a culture that is much older, and also is a culture from Lima only, the Lima culture. So these people created temples under their own standards, which are nothing like alike to the Incas, for example. So this is the picture before the restorations. And this is a picture of the site nowadays, how it's starting to look in this moment. By the way, when the archaeologists arrived in the 70s, well, the neighbors were waiting for the moment to see the temple gone. They were like sick of that dusty temple. And when the archaeologists came and they started to have a relation with the neighbors, they started to thank the archaeologists, because they said, oh, you will finally clean this temple that dirts all my clothes that I put, I hang for drying, right? So, oh, thank you so much, because this is a waste of space, no? And the people, they had no idea of the value or of what was in the site, but you cannot understand what is all covered. So the archaeologists have dedicated decades of work to uncover that hill, no? The little hill of Miraflores. And now what we can see are millions of adobe bricks made especially for the construction of this temple, and put in such position that nowadays, by the way, it is known as the library technique position, which we're going to be explaining in a little while, as you can see over here. Marek, would you like to explain a bit more of this?
The library technique is, you can see better here, no? It's like, it seems like a library, isn't it? Each brick of adobe is like a book, no? And it's an empty space between one block and another, no? Like books in a library. So when an earthquake came, so all the strength of the earth goes in those gaps, and the construction can shake and move a little bit because it's this empty space, but didn't fall. It will not fall.
Exactly. So these are very small bricks. They were not made with molds.
Size, like a book,
Seems,
the size of a book, more than less.
exactly, but seems that the measurement they use for making the bricks was the palm of a hand, because it's pretty much the same size, you know, and possibly like the Egyptians, right? They use, you know, the parts of their body to measure. So for them was possibly a palm of a hand. So also we know even in the bricks, we have the printings of the palms of the hands or fingers. Seems that they used to do, the people that were tributing, because there was no currency back then, so they were tributing with their work. They put some forms of, you know, like prints or marks to, you know, like say, well, this is from my family, this is from me, no? So, and they left these marks when they were let's say supporting the works of renovations of this place. We don't think the archaeological site originally looked like this. No, this is as far the archaeological restoration was able to go. And you know, nowadays we cannot reconstruct anything because we don't have a picture of how it looked like originally. It would be pretty much impossible to know how exactly it looked like. But there are zones that were preserved because of the dirt that cover the rooms, for example, or these people themselves, actually, when they were doing renovations, they covered some chambers with dirt, with stones, with mud. So they covered these rooms. They created new floors on top and new chambers, but everything below remained almost intact. So now we know that some of the rooms were painted in yellow color, for example. The bricks were colored, no? Like they were, first of all, like put like even all the walls. Also, there were no spaces between them. They were just the walls even and painted on top. So this is a seismic proof technique of construction. And it's amazing to see that about 2,000 years ago, pre-Hispanic people were capable to create techniques that supported earthquakes that possibly were stronger than 8 Richter scale. And how we know this? Because in our time, since the coming of the conquistadors, in the present time when we have now, you know, like the way to preserve information, records, right? So we had experienced earthquakes of over 8 Richter scale. Churches had collapsed, the towers of the churches collapsed, the most beautiful houses collapsed. These temples, no. These temples still standing in really good shape. How they were able to come to the conclusion of this technique was working? Trial and error, right? That's the way how all societies have done. And they had made lots of mistakes, but eventually they were able to find better ways to make buildings support earthquakes. This construction is completely solid. You can see the profile in the upper part of the temple. This is a solid construction. It's a step pyramid, irregular step pyramid, flat on the top.
In Huayamarca, we have 3 stages of constructions, 3 different pyramids. In the case of Fupuquiana, we have 7 different pyramids. The first one, of course, was small, the second on the top, the third over the next one. And what we saw is the 7th, the last one, no? That it was constructed around 500 years BC. Another very interesting anti-seismic technique is drawn here. These red lines on the left-hand side on the bottom, there are trapezoids. They're divided, those libraries, in trapezoids, no? Like the Incas do later, because trapezoids are more stable and give more stability to all the construction.
So they had panels basically, and that's eventually they discovered that was the best way to make their temples last for longer. And also, in order to understand their psychology, understand them as people, as humans, they might have not been so different to us Limenians of nowadays. Why? They used to love seafood. They used to worship the ocean, the mother, let's say, of us coastal people. And they also worship the shark, possibly because they fear the shark, and also they consider this animal possibly very attractive, very beautiful. So in some vessels discovered in the site, we can see the drawings, the designs of clearly sharks. And most of the vessels discovered in different specific zones of the temple were broken or fragmented. So that way we discovered them was in pieces. That's why, for example, this one you can see it has been glued. But also next to most of these, let's say, vessels that were broken in purpose for ceremonies, the archaeologists were able to discover bodies of women. Many young women between 11 years old until maybe 20 years old that were sacrificed. So the sacrifices in the Lima times were very common. You know that the Incas used to sacrifice women, the maidens of the sun, and the Lima people used to be very aggressive, very brutal in their sacrifices, because we even see the dismembering or cercenation of parts of their bodies, especially legs. Also, it seems that they were trying to trap the spirits of these girls within the site, chopping off their legs or sometimes beheading them. So this is another example. This style is called the interlocking technique. And the interlocking technique is also very famous around the world. Many different societies had used it. Basically, it's like using like mirror designs, right? So that it starts like the head over here, goes around, and the same edge, the same ending on the other side, and you turn it, right? And it's the same design upside down, right? So that's the interlocking technique, also used a lot here. This is a museum nowadays, by the way. Huacapuquiana is one of the most important archaeological sites we have in the city. The admission fee is 15 soles per person. In the case of Guayamarca was 5 soles only, so you can see the big difference in terms of price, but that is because this site has been investigated, or there's bigger investment in the site
and in the preservation of the site also.
Exactly. You can even see also a tour group on the top of the pyramid in this picture. And the circuit is very big. In total is about 45 minutes. And we have in some zones of this temple recreations of the sacrifices of the vessels, for example, like in this case with these mannequins. Also from the mummies discovered in the site, we know that the Lima people were not super tall people. Actually, the average man was about 1 meter and 55 centimeters high. I am 1 meter and 61, so I would be a gigantic woman for that time. And also these people, well, actually dressed up in this fashion, as you can see. They use cotton clothes that they also made from the valley over here. And well, the place Huacapuquiana used to be a zone reserved only for ceremonies, and the people that live in that place were priests or people associated with the priests, so possibly their families. There is a lower zone that is also part of the circuit that used to be used. It used to be called the administrative zone. It's no longer called officially like that, because the place was also associated with for rituals that were made for the restoration or reconstruction of that place during the times, because these people were constantly reconstructing and adding more, and also making more bricks, no? And the people of the community, nearby community, went over that place and they tributed with their time to the temple. So we know that there were also big feasts made for these workers, and the food they consume was made of shark. And we know it because the leftovers of the shark are left there in that site. So this is a fabulous place, and this is the way how it looks by nighttime. Also, another way to see the temple is going to the restaurant that is located in the temple. The restaurant is called Wakapukiana, and has the best view, I think, of the archaeological site from the daytime and nighttime for sure. So, well, this is a little bit of how these archaeological sites look like inside and outside, and the history of both of them. So I hope you were able to enjoy this lecture, and also were encouraged to learn more about the pre-Hispanic history, not just of Lima, of Peru, because we have lots to be uncovered still here in the country. So yes, Marek?
Yeah, but this is just part of the history of pre-Columbian Lima, because the pre-Columbian Lima continues. We have remains of the Huaris, of the Ichmas, and of the Incas. No, in all the city there are more than 300 archaeological sites. So it's a very much history here. Lima is one of the 7 cities of the world, of the 7 capitals of the world, that is in continuous settlement for over than 2,000 years. Those cities are Rome, Athens, Damascus, Jerusalem, Baghdad, Mexico, and Cairo, Mexico, and Lima.
So we have many good reasons to be proud of our city, and also be fierce protectors of our patrimony and our heritage. So, well, I hope you enjoy the lecture today. And maybe you have a question, Michelle, for before we end this lecture.
Well, I'm curious about the bricks used in this library system. What did they put on top? Did they just do tiles and then do another layer?
Yes, let me explain you this. I think with this image we can be a little bit more clear. So we have here the library technique. So you know that we have bricks that are about 20 centimeters, not so big. So they were put, like standing together, and there is a little gap between them. They were just glued in the bottom and top, right? And there was a layer, let's say, of, once again, mud, like if it was a cement, right? As you can see, for example, in this section over here, right? So they layer, the fresh mud, and they put another layer of standing bricks. So this made the construction, like solid, right? But also the little gap between the bricks was a shock absorber, because that space, that sort of like corridor, allowed, the vibration of the berry bricks during the movement of the earthquake, that it give a little rank of movement. And this is what is needed actually. Nowadays, for example, in the modern constructions in Lima, in the houses of Lima, the houses that are, that we have houses very close one to another. There is always a little space between the houses. So in that way, there would be a little vibration. And this is something that, well, pre-Hispanic societies used to know and from experience.
Great, thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to transport you once again to Lima, and to, well, especially to these 2 beautiful districts of the city. And we are going for next week to surprise you with another fun lecture. Hopefully, if everything goes as planned, Mike is going to be here, my friend Mike from Cusco, and he's going to be joining us, giving us some insights about other archaeological sites, but in this occasion, in his city, in Cusco City. So I hope you join